Anyone that wants to sit down? It's hard to follow Chip and Stacy because they're very impressive, and it's a major reason that I love what we're doing because it attracts people of that quality. But let me start a little bit in a different way. Who likes to invest? Anyone? Who has owned a stock in their life? Okay. Who's invested their time into something? Okay. What do you like to invest in? Or why do you like to invest? Anyone?
Return.
Make some money.
People.
You like to invest in people. Whoever. Did you say that? You said that. Okay.
Things to help you.
Do good things in life. Who likes to buy high and sell low? Oh, no. How about buy low and sell high?
Yeah.
Okay. Who likes to buy and hold because you have a great company? That's a nice thing. Okay, what is a great company? Anyone name one? Apple? Okay. Google, maybe? I don't know. Microsoft?
What's that here?
David won't tell me the damn name. I'm hoping this evening we might learn something about it. It's going to be the best no-name company in the world. So, for me, a great company has two things. Disruptive technology. What does that mean? That means it disrupts the way that things were done before. It changes it, either faster, better, smoother, broader, cheaper, whatever it may be. But it changes through technology or ways of doing something. It's disruptive technology, very important. And the other one is being a transformation company. What does that mean? It means it either creates a new industry or transforms an old industry. Pretty simple. To me, those are two characteristics. There's thousands of characteristics of great companies, but those are the two. If you think of any of the ones you mentioned, Microsoft, Apple, Google, all those they have those things. So, who invested in Microsoft as a private company? Why not? Who invested in Apple as a private company? Why not? Google, Alibaba. Who? Why do you guys invest in those companies as private companies if they're great companies?
Didn't know about it.
Didn't know about them? Were you invited?
No.
Someone didn't knock at your door and said, "Please invest in me." So let me do a make-believe company and see at the end of it whether you want to invest in it on the ground floor, invested it as a private company with either blood, sweat, and tears or hard dollars, whatever you like to invest in. And we'll call it most of you guys have been in the supplement business, we'll call it a pill company, a magical pill company. It's a pretty big pill, pretty hard pill too. So we'll call it a magical pill company. And what does this pill do? It's been approved by every single government agency, FDA, USDA, those equivalents around the world. It's supported by the best science. Everyone says it's great. It does magical things that Stacy took us through. Living issues, energy, better sleep, higher libido, less inflammation, less hypertension, all those things that bother us day to day. It does really wonderful long-term things. It helps reduce the risk of chronic disease, all those awful things that happens to lots of people. But it's not just health. It's magical. It brings people together. It creates joy. It creates laughter. It creates celebration. It's the thing that people get together no matter where they are in the world or where they, their nationality or practices. It brings us all together. It's a cost that people already spend money on bad things, just moves over to something that's good. So there's no increased cost of what they have to do. It's a modern day product. You got a busy world. It goes with you. It goes anywhere you want to go. Or you can have it at home. It's truly a disruptive technology, and it's truly a transformative company. Okay? So, who would like to invest in this on the ground floor as a private company? Okay? Well, guess what? It's not a pill. This is about 3 hours old, but it's chips meals. It's chips food. This is what this is. 43 essential nutrients that we need every day. Everyone, every person in the world, every place, every day for the rest of their lives. And if you do that, very good things happen. This is not another MLM. This is not another fairy dust story or some hero worshiping thing. This is real. This is real life. And what we're doing is welcoming you, asking you, wanting you, inviting you to be founding members, to be on the ground floor of something that I think is great. And I think will be great. I think will be an iconic company. But before I get too bold in that, let me bring us back to reality and take care of some business. And the first business, who was in Reno and what was the purpose of Reno? Take a picture? Remember that? I don't know where the clicker is, but if I can find the clicker, I'll move on. I have a clicker. So in Reno, we looked at some iconic companies. Which one's this? Who's that? Starbucks, good. Without Howard, he was not a founder. That one? Alibaba. That one? Apple. Okay, so who's the founder here? Not those two plus. Nope. Put Jason and David in there, still not Dan and Colin. It's that group. Okay? That's the back of my house in Lake Tahoe, which is a pretty setting, and it's a wonderful day and a great group. We had, I think, a nice evening there. You know what's going to be fun? If there's anyone that doesn't participate, their great-great-great-grandchildren will be still, pumping gas or whatever it is, saying, God, I could have had Easy Street. So, in Reno, I said that was the last time I was going to talk because I really don't like being on the stage. I'm a behind the scenes type of person. It's just who I am. And but David and Jason said, nope, you got to speak. So I will make this the last speech I do, please. But let me tell you a little bit about who I am and why I'm here. Why I actually don't like to speak, because I actually think I'm one of the world's most boring people. I only can do one thing, and all I can do is build companies. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. That's all I have done since I was 12 years old when I started actually my first two companies, a home improvement business and a summer camp for kids. Forget the fact that I was a kid starting a summer camp for kids, but it worked. And that's what I've been doing all my life. Like everyone, I've had some very nice successes and some spectacular failures. Anyone who says they have not failed in life either has not lived life or they're lying. Okay? Because I learn actually more from failure than I do from success, because failure, you go and you learn and you get back up and you do it again. But what I'll do is just take you through a little bit of what I've done very quickly. I've been very fortunate to have been a part of the teams that have built so far $11 billion plus companies in a variety of industries. And I did very quickly. First is Eon Labs. I'll get out of the way so you can see. We bought bankrupt assets, built a generic drug company, and 20 years later sold it for $8 billion. Advanced PCS, we took a $10 million business, grew it to a $16 billion business. It was bought by Caremark, and then CVS Bark, that now is the foundation of their mail order, their PBM business. Took bankrupt assets, made an iconic brand that still survives today. This was based on my honors thesis of the economics of solar energy. It took me 20 years to execute the plan, but we made a $1 billion company that we sold to the Chinese. This was my best IR deal. I was fortunate enough to be a part of turning $15 million into $1 billion in about 2 years. These are two asset managers, multi-billion-dollar asset managers that we grew from nothing to, one based in Hong Kong, one in Singapore, that are real stars in the Asian market. This is taking the mapping the human genome and making personalized medicine and cutting edge of the future world of Western medicine. This is a massive water rights and almonds. Almonds are a great source of proteins in the Central Valley, and unfortunately this has gotten incredibly valuable because we have a lot of water rights, and water is a precious thing in the West, as people know. This is one of the reasons I'm here today, and I'll talk a little more about Pharmanex. And Herbalife is another reason I'm here today, and we'll talk a little more about Herbalife. I said 11. I believe that I'll have 12 before I'm done. This is, to me, the most important thing I'm doing. It's the rest of my life. I hope a long life, but it's the rest of my life. I believe it's the biggest idea that I've ever been involved in, and I believe it's arguably one of the biggest ideas of our generation. And it's something that, to me, I just love, and I think it's going to be very powerful. So, quiz. By the way, that's our big sandbox. That was one. Say that. Good go-to-market. That's 1B. Okay. What's the other part of one? Yeah, it has two core assets. One was a good go-to-market.
Team.
That's one. The team. Great product. That's the other. That's 1A. There's one missing. Okay, that's part of the that's part of the unique go-to-market strategy. What about vision? Okay, mission, vision. You don't have that, you don't have anything, because you don't have a soul of a company. And it's an overused word and misunderstood word. Okay, but if you have a vision, and it's a true vision that people really buy into, then your company can have a soul. And I think, to me, in my era, I think the one that did the best job of that was Steve Jobs and Apple. There's not a company that had a better soul, and whether they keep it going or not after his death, we'll see in 10 years, but you really have to have a soul to your company. Let's see, where am I here? So those are my icons. I decided not to put words up today. I decided to use icons. The basket is the go-to-market. The heart is the good product. The vision is the I. And the sandbox. And then the thing at the bottom, a bunch of, that's David and Jason and their team doing around the circle with the things going to the sky. So my experience has been greatly driven by the fact that I was involved with a firm that was heavily involved in healthcare, wellness, nutrition, investing. The guy that ran the firm before I took it over actually wrote the cancer bill under Nixon in 1971. A guy named Benno Schmidt is one of my favorite people, died many years ago. And that became the funding for the NIH that created the beginning of the biotech revolution. Okay? And that was probably the most important event for Western medicine in modern day. He actually got Ted Kennedy to sponsor the bill. Stacey, a good liberal Democrat from Massachusetts. And talk about the odd couple getting Nixon and Kennedy together, but that's how important this was. And what happened from that was the advancement in Western medicine has been unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. And what we've done is, in terms of moving lives out, is just incredible. But 25 years ago, I was actively involved with a lot of these things. You know, it was my revelation, a little bit like Chip's revelation 10 years ago with his mother. Were we improving the quality of life? Chronic disease was then and is now at all-time high. We have new diseases like child diabetes. There was something wrong. Okay, in spite of the best and the brightest, all these people coming out of these research institutions going in and dedicating themselves to Western medicine, something was seriously wrong. And 25 years ago, The biggest one of the biggest revelations I had in my life, in my investing career. So you had all these fancy companies. These are just some of them. Actually, I just noticed this morning that a couple of these are ones we actually started. We started Vertex, Gilead, IDAC, that's part of IDAC, and a bunch of others that are part of these other companies. They did incredible things. Trillions of dollars have gone into what's happened. But what's wrong? What's wrong with this picture? Well, it's pretty simple. Let's say that circle represents health. Health in the world, or the West, or the U.S., it doesn't matter, it's just health. Okay? About 20% of it is genetics. You're dealt a bad hand. It's really bad. Okay? It's awful. Okay? But it's the smallest problem we have. All the research money has been going into that, fixing those issues, trying to get people that have been dealt a bad hand, or something happens and you try to keep them alive, or you cure them. Incredible what we've done in the Western world, but it's a small problem, but that's where we've been focusing. All these folks, plus government, and you got the same going in Japan and Western Europe and other great research places, spending money on stuff that's the small part of the problem. What's on the other? Do anyone know what that other 80% is? Any guesses? What is it? Yeah. It's exercise and eating. It's what Chip talked about. It's what goes in our body. Okay, it's the result of lifestyle choices we make. Okay, it starts with what you're feeding your kids, all the way through the time that you die. And that's the most important. That's that 80%. So that was my big revelation. This happened in the early 90s. Okay, and I said, okay, something's wrong. So that led to my first. Oh, and by the way, who focuses on that 80%? Great big companies, right? Yeah, they are. What do? Sugar? Yeah. Wonder Bread. Sugar, fats, salt. Processed food. That's the franchise. They're doing what they need to do, shareholder value. They make us addicted. They buy more. I understand it. It's capitalism. No issue with that. But who's fighting for the stuff that we need to fight for, which is health, good foods, nutrition? It's not there. So this is where it led me to my first big idea, and it's the Pharmanex thing. I teamed up with a guy that some of you might know, a guy named Henry Burdick, who was the father of the vitamin industry. He started Nature's Made, I don't know, in the 60s or something, and sold it to the Japanese, made some money. Great guy. Well, we had the idea we were going to bring, this is before all the craziness with supplements, it's before yoga and acupuncture and all that stuff. This is, I'm old, so this is a long time ago. So we're going to bring traditional Chinese medicines here. Okay, why? Eastern medicine is more or less preventive. It's trying to take care of yourself. So our thought was there's wonderful things that coming out of China that they've been using for thousands of years that we should do. The Shea was just passed, and this is a wonderful time to do it. So we did it. Go through our 4 key success factors. Incredible products. A terrific go-to-market strategy. Because we had these relationships with all the retail chains. I think we opened with 30,000 doors. We're quickly going to 100,000 doors. It's very impressive what we did in terms of we were in all the CVS's, the Walgreens, the Target, the Walmarts, all the supermarkets. Now, this is before they dedicated 120 feet to supplements. They were still in the 4 or 5 feet, so we only had a couple of feet, but we were there. Okay? Great vision. We were going to bring Eastern medicine, introduce preventive medicine in the West. This was wonderful. Okay, big sandbox, health. Man, you can't get any bigger than that. And a great team. Henry's a super guy, and he built a great team. We did 2 things wrong. People who were in Reno, who might have heard some of this, I'll give you a hint. It's our go-to-market strategy. Where did we go wrong on that?
Retail.
What's wrong with retail?
Advertising costs.
Yeah. And here's what happened. We had millions of eyeballs. People walking up and down the aisle. Millions. Okay? But we weren't yelling out to the heart, to their soul. We can change you. We can help you. Okay? If you're going to change the world, you're going to change people and what they do and their habits, you have to speak to them. One-to-one. Does that sound familiar? Okay? Total big miss. Okay? But again, they don't teach multi-level marketing at Harvard. Okay? And I was young. I was growing. The other thing is, I would say, is something that's helped me throughout my career now. I was in the 30s, still naive, believing in truth, justice, and the American way. You do something right, and it will survive. It will rise to the top. Business is a street fight. Okay? We had the most wonderful product, red rice yeast, a cholesterol-reducing product the Chinese have been using for 2,000 years. Perfect to shape. Perfect. Okay? And it was so much better than anything out there on the market. Okay? And I forgot a long time, I forgot, maybe $1 a pill versus what Merck was charging, which is $100 a pill, and we have more effective outcomes. Unbelievable. And at that time, you might remember in the 90s, Merck, I think for 9 or 10 years, got the award for the most respected company in the world. Okay? Did everything right. Cared about the people, right? No. Cared about their franchise. Their franchise was cholesterol-reducing products. So they sued us every single which way you could find. They got their buddies at the FDA. By the way, my view is the FDA is what it really is, because drug is really what's important down there. And the FDA, aren't they looking out for the little guys? Aren't they looking out for consumers? Okay, I believe all that stuff. Okay. Anyway, we got in a big fight. This was after Bechet. We had politicians lined up. It was really kind of dramatic. Yeah, we believe in this. We believe in the supplement industry. We believe in Bechet. We believe all this stuff that's very important. Public policy. They call the next week. Can't quite support you publicly. Why? Well, Merck's going to build a plant in my district. I think it happened like 20 times. It was unbelievable. So anyway, we spent $50 million and we hadn't gotten to discovery yet. Merck had and probably still has a lot more money than we had to spend on this. And at that time, we're doing successful. We launched with $50 million, we're going toward $100, but this was $1 billion opportunity that we were frustrated with. So this company called Nu Skin, unsolicited, said, we want to buy it. Okay? I've never heard of Nu Skin. And they said 2/3 cash, 1/3 stock. And the cash part of it made the deal. We did a nice return. I was in business to return monies to my limited partners. And even though we thought this was a bigger opportunity, it's still, it's my duty to my shareholders, which are my limited partners, to get their money back. So I said, well, let me look at the stock piece. I said, well, who's Nu Skin? Oh my God. It's a pyramid scheme in Salt Lake City. Fast forward, I mentally discounted any value on that stock. Fast forwarded, and the Nu Skin folks get all the credits for what they did. Is again, all our products off our, by that time, probably 50,000 doors. And I think these guys don't know anything. They threw it through this channel called distributors, which I heard of, but I didn't understand. $1 billion, and I think it still remains a massive, important piece of what Nu Skin is today. We had terrific science. We missed the go-to-market strategy. I didn't care about this lawsuit with Merck because we had such a rich pipeline. Yeah, that was a wild card if they could get it. Big deal. And so my education was, and by the way, that's one company that I was key in terms of laying the foundation, but complete credit to the Nu Skin people for making it achieve its potential because we weren't going to do it. We didn't know it. So that was a major education for me in two areas. Number one, business is a street fight, and if you don't look out for the little guys, none of these people who say they do will do it, and be prepared for that. And number two, I fell in love with something that I had never heard of, never really understood, which is called this network marketing business. And I really dove into trying to understand this thing. And that led to my next thing that was very important in my life, which is Herbalife. fast forwarded a couple of years, and someone I think is a very visionary person, Mark Hughes, died. I think it was 2000, I forget time now. And honestly, every crook in LA, I think, must have ended up at Herbalife because they had their hand in this cookie jar. And it was just the saddest thing you've ever seen in your life. Here was a company that had done really well, lost its leader, and you just had just bad people around. The stock was plummeting. They were in bankrupt. They were in bank default. They were running out of cash. Recruiting was way down. Most importantly, checks were way down for everyone. It was awful. It was just dreadful. The board hired, it was a public company, the board hired someone to sell it. And they went around to anyone you could think of to try to sell it. And I was watching this because of how intrigued I was with what happened with PharmaNex news scam. And 18 months later, not one person was interested. I was very intrigued. This was great. So I went back to my 4 key success factors. Products, they had one great product, Formula One, still their main product, okay? Mark was a genius, which is early shake, early middle replacement, so on, still drives most of their volume. Distributors. Okay, I learned my lesson, so I went and I got to know their top distributors, most of the chairmen, a few presidents club, which are their 2 top layers. All but one. One woman had just made a ton of money and she had just totally checked out. But the rest of them were all the same. They put up a good front. They loved this company. They loved what they were doing. They had the passions of any great distributors about trying to succeed, and no one was helping them. And I got almost verbatim from people, help, we're drowning. Help, we're drowning. And there was no one there looking after them. Big sandbox, okay, which is weight management, 1/3 obese in this country, most of the world 2/3 overweight. Big vision, which is, this is in the healthcare ring, because the connection with obesity and health is a very big and known connection. Team, awful. There was just a bunch of crows. But I can fix it, that's what I do. So I got really interested. My hardest thing about doing the deal was I was a partnership. So I went to my other 2 senior partners and said, I want to do this. And they gulped and they said, okay, Peter, you're a reasonably smart person, but no one in the investment world will touch this. You're not smarter than every single person out there. Give me a break. So we voted. It was 1 for doing the deal, 2 against. Luckily, I was the managing partner and the ones won. But don't feel sorry for those 2 guys, because literally I made them each $100 million from this Herbalife deal. So their contribution was 1 negative vote and $100 million in the bank account. But as in life, choosing your partners is the most important thing. So anyway, honestly, we'll make way too much credit for the turnaround at Herbalife. It wasn't that hard, honestly. The most important thing was changing the culture back to what Mark had, which was love your distributors. So I immediately put in place, nothing could be done. You couldn't buy a pencil unless you could prove that it was going to help a distributor succeed better. I didn't care about whether it was a dime or $10 million. That was the rule. I spent the first year and a half traveling the world, getting to know very closely the top probably 1,500 distributors. A lot of crying, a lot of hugging, a lot of frustrations, a lot of promises, and to me, I wanted them to know that we were there for them, and everything was going to be dedicated toward what it should be in any network marketing business, the distributor's success. Because if you don't have that, you have nothing. It can't help you how good your product is. You can't help the distributors succeed, the true entrepreneurs of the world. Nothing's going to happen, period. Next, as I went about fixing the team, and that was easy, I fired everyone. Except one person. A woman named Carol Hanna is one of my favorite people. She was Mark's secretary. Okay, so I promoted her to president. Boy, they don't teach that at Harvard Business School. Why? She represented love. You can't teach, you can't manufacture. She loved the distributors, they loved her. She started with Mark. She knew every single one by name, personal name, knew their kids. Some maybe even had grandchildren by this time, but there's some older folks. And that was my message, that's the most important thing at this company. And she lived up to her piece and was absolutely wonderful. The other thing I did was bring Henry Burdick in, Henry Burdick of Farmex fame, and made him vice chairman and said, fix the pies. I gave him one rule: feed the lions, ride the horses, shoot the dogs. That's shorthand for, you got good things, let's run with them. You got things that are mediocre, let's make them good, and anything bad, get rid of it. And that's what he did a wonderful job. Here's a point of view I have of network marketing or income. If you don't come in and reinvent yourself every day, thinking about, what's new, what can be done. If you don't refresh the product line, if you don't get distributors, or in some cases salespeople, whatever the thing, some tools that will continue to be energized and to sell to the customer, you have nothing. Herbalife had nothing in its cabinet. It had Formula One, which at that time was 20 years old or whatever, 22 years old or something of that nature. Still a great product, but still nothing was new. And Henry, to his credit, he did a wonderful job developing a very rich pipeline. The other thing I did is eventually recruit Michael Johnson. It took me almost 2 years to do, and Michael's done a wonderful job. He's a terrific executive. He's perfect for Herbalife. He comes out of Disney. He's all show, and that's what Herbalife's about, the show. And he fits wonderful, and has done a wonderful job, and has continued to do a wonderful job. We, in my mind, I did achieve everything that I promised. Most importantly, checks went up from day one, and my understanding is they have not gone down yet, and that's been a long time running. So, that's the core, okay? If you're working hard and you can't make something work for you, it's not going to work. You're not going to continue working it, period. That's easy. We moved it from a pure recruiting model to at least a half consumption model. It still should be a lot more with the nutrition clubs, which again were started by a distributor down in Mexico, not by me, not by the board, not by the management team. You got to listen to distributors. They're out there. They understand it. And that was a key piece of it. We created a rich pipeline. We turned it cost me $180 million to buy it. Turned that into $5 billion. So financially, it was good. We saved the company from bankruptcy. Couldn't save it from the hedge fund people who want to tear it back apart. But from my point of view, it was very successful in terms of that. There was an emptiness for me, though, because remember that 80%, that food thing? That's to me, and this is my revelation 20 years ago. Okay, I didn't know how to get there, but I knew that's the big kahuna. That's the holy grail. That's the intersection of health, wellness, life, happiness, friendship, family, bringing people together, and no one was doing it. We have a bunch of really big, very impressive food companies giving us stuff that's not very good for us. And I wanted to take Herbalife from this sliver of meal replacement and weight management into foods, and we were back public at that time. And Michael and the team wanted to take it to something called sports nutrition, energy, all that stuff, which is even a smaller sliver than weight management. They're smart, they're probably smarter than I am. God bless them, and let them go. But that's not the issue. That's not the big purpose. That's not what's out there. It's sitting out there, this big thing that we have. The other thing was more personal, which is Mark had a certain culture. It was a money culture, which is, it was Herbalife's about making money more than maybe doing something that's good. I've always had the point of view that you do what's right. The money's a byproduct of doing great things. It's not a end in itself. It's always a byproduct for me. That's a personal point of view, and not everyone agrees to it, but that's just my point of view. So it absolutely killed me every day that I was chairman of Herbalife to wake up to know that there were garages full of Formula One, of distributors who could not make it. You just can't get worse than that. Just killed me. So, got to move on. Actually, it was actually very good because that made me want to start my own thing. Okay, that made me not want to accept someone else's culture. Okay, it made me want to be more powerful to do it right. And that to me is the next phase of my life, which is back to this 80%. This 80% is where the big kahuna is. Absolutely where the big kahuna is. Now, in my 4 key success factors, I left one out in Reno. No reason for you to know this, because it's my own point of view. What do you think the key success factor I left out? Everyone that has been successful in life, there's one common denominator. These are great. I lady luck. There are so many brilliant people out there that haven't been able to do it, but you gotta, she or he, whoever your image of Lady Luck, she knocks softly. She doesn't knock a lot. And you got to be there to answer. If you're sleeping, you're dead. She'll pass up. So, Lady Luck looked down on me twice in the last 4 years. The first was I was back at it with Henry, my buddy Henry, saying how we're going to do this right. And one of his long-term friends introduced me, said, I'm going to set you up to meet a really brilliant scientist. And in my world, I can't tell you how many frogs you have to kiss before you find your prince or princess. It's just, sure, I'll do it. So, I put on the calendar, it was 2 months since. It was one of these, I told this story in Reno, and Chip didn't remember this way, but hey, it's my story, so I'm telling you. It was one of these gloomy days in LA. January, 6:30, so it was gotten dark, it was rainy, it was that cold things. LA is usually beautiful, but it's one of those lousy days. And I'm on the freeway, I'm thinking, we're no longer in West LA. What happened to Beverly Hills or Santa Monica? We're on this east side. So you get off the freeway, come down, and literally every single other building's burned out. Push that lock button, see the hotel up there, and half the lights are on the hotel out, and it's the hotel that I imagine that you might rent rooms by the hour. Anyway, so go climb into the hotel. I didn't want the 50 feet between the car and the hotel. To me, it was a danger zone. And I go in there, and what happened next has forever changed my life. Has forever changed my life for the rest of my life. I saw a guy in his uniform, which is black t-shirts and jeans and tennis shoes. And except for today, that's all you'll see him in. Okay? And he didn't want to chit-chat. He didn't want to say, how you doing? He didn't want to do that. He didn't see any of this evil out there that I saw. He wanted to talk about his foods. That he had the solution to something that was a big problem. And by the way, this is the same problem I had been thinking about from the business side of it, the consumer side of it. He was thinking from the lab side. So I actually fell in love with the boy, okay, as a brilliant scientist. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life, and even better creative guys. Okay, he's like one of these people who just create things that you just can't imagine. Okay, and so it was terrific, except for the food. It was a little marginal, very marginal. It was bad. So it's probably like this after 4 hours of sitting here, okay? But we became fast friends because we shared a passion. We shared a passion of trying to do something about this, not that guy, but the big 80%. Oh, there's my ladybug. Okay. And so we actually literally created a formal partnership, and we went about 3 years of really intense R&D. So you think that what he's done, and Stacy did a really nice job of telling you how magical he is, which he is, it didn't come overnight. It's been 30 years for him. It's been 4 or 5 years for us intensely together. And it's a lot, what Thomas Edison said, before he got it right once, he discovered 10,000 ways that it didn't work. Well, we did that, okay? A lot of failures in there. A lot of, can we do it, okay? And what I love about Chip is I think I have the same thing, a passion to change. Passion to change what's out there, and we weren't going to be denied because something could happen that could greatly change the way that we all have nutrition. It just has to happen. 100 years of this processed food, of sugar, salt, fats, it's just wrong, and we're paying the price for it. So about a year ago, we had the aha moment, and the foods worked, and they were terrific, and the attributes to me are just really outstanding, and I'm sure the marketing people put certain spins on, but they're pretty simple. 43 essential nutrients. Okay, every meal, 50% of 43 essential that go right through those life issues, right through those chronic disease issues, that to reduce those things that Stacy talks so well about. There's no bad stuff in there. Okay, none of the crud that the processed food industry puts in. No behavior change. This is critical. She mentioned Susan Roberts. Susan Roberts' main writing is on behavior change. The reason people fail on diets or nutrition is required. You can't do this. You got to flip over a flip, and then you got to drink the water upside down. All these things. It doesn't work. Okay, it might work for a day or two if people are desperate, but no behavior change. Eat your oatmeal. Okay, we'll have granola. Eat your granola if you don't like it. We'll have tons of good foods. Pleasure. There's a piece of work that says that one of the reasons foods gives us pleasure is because of the evolution. It was, 3 things you need in life. You need oxygen, water, and nutrients. And the human body, through evolution, it gives us pleasure through that because it wanted to make sure you were getting your nutrients. And this goes back to the caveman. That's a lot of them out of my element, but people who studied that type of stuff, there are a lot of good papers in there. Okay, so what we do is, what's the number one food for teenagers? Anyone who has a teenager? Pizza. Okay, pizza's got awful. Okay, if you look at the nutrition factors, even the healthy ones that people say, oh, this is healthy because we got to put a tomato in or something. It's bad. We had at my house up in Tahoe, we had pizza. Okay, it's better to eat oatmeal with some almonds in it or something like that in terms of health profile. This cheese will always be a little high in some saturated fats and so on. But it had your 50% of your essential nutrients. So we make bad foods good or acceptable. We make average foods or good foods great, and we make great foods outstanding. So you don't have to change. You're going to come home and have teenage boys and girls that want pizza. Give them pizza, but good pizza. And that's the key of what we have, which is an extremely powerful element here. No calorie counting. The absolute stupidest thing that's been in the domain for the last 30 or 40 years is calorie in, calorie out, personal responsibility. You eat this, you got to go to the gym and do, an hour of running around on a treadmill or something of that nature. All calories are not created equally. They're good and they're bad calories. As Chip did such a good job, good calories do different things. They give you satiety. They give you your nutrients, your mitochondria is happy, you aren't eating as much, and a lot of good things happen. So that's a really important piece that I think will become more and more important. Embracing the food prep of the ancients, That's how they, you know, they didn't have refrigerators. They didn't have things to create artificial foods. That's how they did it. Modern day product, guess what? It'd be very romantic to go to the Norman Rockwell family thing, go back to the farm, we all grow our own vegetables. Not gonna happen. That's not society. It might be for 0.1%. God bless them, let them go do it. But for the rest of us, dual income, single moms, single dads, taking care of parents who move in, you know, there are real pressures here. This is a modern day product that is easy to use and convenient and allows you to do the other things in life that puts a tremendous demand of your time. Stacy didn't say it, but what she liked best of it, she didn't have to go grocery shopping for 8 hours a day to get her food. Two things that, you know, really aren't relevant here, but I think are very relevant. Safety. It's not a big thing in the U.S., but you go to a place like China, it's the number one thing. Food safety. What's in it? Okay, as we go, and by the way, when I left Herbalife, we're in 82 countries, if that gives you any sense of how broad I think we can be. That was not enough. And so we will be in places that safety is number one. Okay, 100% safe. What we do is unbelievable. And that will become a big piece of the equation as we leave places where we don't have those issues like here. Environmentally friendly. I said this in Reno. What percent, no one from Reno answers this question, what percent of fresh stuff do you think ends up in the landfill? A lot. How about 50%? Actually, Europe's worse. They're 50 and we're somewhere between 40 and 50%. Okay, what do landfills produce? Methane gas. What does methane do? That little ozone? Is that ozone? Okay, what's the number one use of water in the world? Ag. Okay, you're wasting half of ag. What an awful thing to do. In a orchard, I don't know about Salt Lake, but I got a ranch out in California. People are dying out there. It's awful. And it's even worse in other countries. This is probably in the future, water becomes, the oil and stuff. It's such a big thing. And this is and what's the number one cause of deterioration of oceans? Runoff from ag land. So if you're wasting ag land, because you're wasting the plant, you're doing that. So, this is a side product of the fact that we want to be green, we're green. Okay, is that going to be the main thing that you might care about or not? No, I care about it. And it might not be a selling point to people, but boy, we're an incredibly socially conscious company, and we'll always do that. So, Chip and I sit there, it was simple. We just need to get everyone to get their 43 essential nutrients. It's really stupid if you don't. We can't say that to people. But it's kind of like parachuting without a parachute. Or feeding Australian crocs by hand. Or swimming with sharks without a shark cage. Your DNA may be great, and you may survive this, but it's probably not the wisest thing in the world to do. And so here we are. We got a great product. We got ready to go, and now we go back to our go-to-market strategy. Okay, you ever heard the thing, burn me once, shame on you, burn me twice, shame on me? Yes. What did I learn from Pharmanex? What is the only channel, if you want to change the world, if you want to change what consumers do, you want to educate them, you want to educate them the importance about what's going on, what's the only way to do this?